struggling. Time to dance in your blessing, boy. Over there, boy. Lord, I want you bless me until I tell you stop. Lord, I want you bless me until I go enough. And when you wet me down with your blessing, Jesus. And when you soak me down with your blessing, Lord. And when you soak me, Baba, oh. 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 Lord, I want you bless me, and I don't want you stop. Not just financially, but in my health and even my family. Lord, take me deeper in my ministry, cause the laborers are few, harvest is ripe, but I am ready. Make me ball, oh, make me ball, ah, make me ball, ay, ay, ay. Them kind of blessing does make me feel to cry. Oh, ah, ay, ay, ay. Oh, this not no sorrow, but just tears of joy. I want you soak me, Baba, oh. 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 You may not understand the reason why I'm dancing, but me tell you, leave me, let me dance. I'm not dancing by chance. I was dancing while I was struggling, so let me dance in my blessing. Lord, help someone to get up and dance to the heat. Make me ball, oh, make me ball, ah, make me ball, ay, ay, ay. Them kind of blessing does make me feel to cry. Make me ball, oh, ah, ay, ay, ay. Oh, this not no sorrow, but just tears of joy. Oh God, Lord, I want you bless me until I tell you stop. Lord, I want you bless me until I go enough. I want you wet me down with your blessing, Jesus. I want you soak me down with your blessing, Lord. I want you soak me, Baba, oh. I want you soak me, Baba, oh.
Siabonga Jesu, Siabonga Baba, Siabonga Jesu, Oshe Baba, Siabonga Jesu, Siabonga Baba, Siabonga Jesu, Oshe Baba.
Lord, I want you bless me until I tell you stop. Lord, I want you bless me until I go enough. And when you wet me down with your blessing, Jesus. I want you soak me down with your blessing, Lord. I want you soak me, Baba, oh. I want you soak me, Baba, oh. I want you soak me, Baba, oh. I want you soak me, Baba, oh.
Soke, Siabonga, Jesu.
Jesus will provide. In the presence of my enemy, Jesus will provide. Recession in my country, Jesus will provide. So when me don't have nothing, me no worry. Jesus will always provide for me. Jesus will provide. Jesus will provide. I run the cupboard empty. Jesus will provide. Come on. Jesus will provide. I said Jesus will provide. On the cupboard empty. Jesus will provide. He better than kiss and quail. He keep on putting bread on my table. Lindos and Freddy, them not ready. Jesus Christ always got me. Yeah. And he's my chief baker. So my bread basket always run over.
today on Queen Esther's Ministries, Trinidad and Tobago. We want to take this opportunity to say a special thank you to all those of you who are joined in with
this initiative called Sit, Sip and Chat.
it's a pleasure to have you again, and we are honored that you were able to take the time to join us tonight as we launch the series online on Facebook. So, Mr. Bedassie, we want to get right into it tonight as we talk about what we can do as a people and what we can do as a nation to make Trinidad and Tobago, and by God's grace, the Caribbean or beyond, a better place for those who are struggling. But tonight, as we chat, before we get into it, we would like to ask you to tell our viewers a little bit about you, a little bit about your childhood, a little bit of your testimony, how you grew up, and how you got to the place of being able to help others.
Well, I grew up in a pretty large family. It was 11 of us.
Sorry, it have no song coming through Christian, so we're gonna have to start the live.
I'll fix it.
Okay, I believe it's rectified now.
Yeah, it's fixed.
Good?
Yeah, I fixed it.
Okay, so like we were saying earlier, we want to apologize to our viewers. We realized that there was no song prior to now, so we apologize for the technical difficulties. We were saying earlier that we're having with us tonight no other than Mr. Krishna Bedassie, who is the founder of the National Alliance of Faith and Justice Trinidad and Tobago. And through this NGO, Mr. Bedassie has an initiative called the Saving Our Sons Initiative. Through this NGO, Mr. Bedassie does work in the faith with leading persons to Christ. He assists with school items, grocery supplies, clothing, and as much as he can do with the limited resources that he may have accessible to him. He's also the founder of the initiative Saving Our Sons, and he has a passion and a desire to work with those in need. So it's a real honor and a real privilege as we launch Queen Esther's Ministry series Sit, Sip and Chat to have with us as our first guest Mr. Krishna Bedassie. So, Mr. Bedassie, welcome to Queen Esther's Ministries live series, Sit, Sip and Chat. It's an honor to be with you here tonight.
Good evening, and it's my pleasure to be here and to share this time with those who are looking on. And I trust that at the end, that you would have some ideas to how you can come on board and be a part of some of these programs.
Good night again, and Mr. Bedassie, as we delve right into the series and launching this series tonight, you know, we are trusting God that it's going to touch the hearts and lives of many, and we are trusting God for something great to come out of it. So before we get into it, I want to ask you tonight to share with our viewers a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your testimony, the things that God has done in your life from childhood to now, and what brought you to this place where you are now able to assist others, and where you have this passion and desire to make a difference.
Well, I am the eldest of 11 children, growing up in basically a single parent home, as my father spent most of his life behind prison bars, and my mom was struggling to raise the 11 of us, send us to school. She had focused a lot on making sure that we received some level of education, because she believed that was one of the ways of getting us out of the situation in which we lived. During that time, a lot of people assisted relatives and even strangers who were at that time doing some of the work that we are attempting to do now, and that went a long way in helping us to come out of that situation. And so, you know, the Bible says, "To whom much is given, much is required," and so now that we are in a better place, I try my best to use whatever opportunity I have to be a blessing to others, to assist others along the way, so that they too may be able to come out of their situation and lead a better life. Because, you know, it is the will of God that we should prosper, that we should do well, and that we should enjoy good success. And if we could do a little to help somebody along the way, then we would have done what is pleasing and what is right and what is honorable in the sight of God.
Amen. Amen. So, Mr. Bedassie, we also know that you work in the prison service, and you would have gotten a lot of exposure because of your work and your line of duty, to come across and to interact with prisoners in a certain way that the average person may not, to hear their stories, some of the things that would have led them into a lifestyle of crime, and some of the areas, so to speak, in life where they were lacking, that caused them to take a part of doing or committing criminal acts in order to survive. I know that you also do work with the Youth Training Center, which is YTC. Can you tell us a little bit about the children that you would come across inside of there, or even the parents, and some of the things that led them to reach to that point?
Well, I have been working with the prison service for the past 25 years, and for a number of those years I've worked as the officer in charge of rehabilitation programs at the Youth Transformation and Rehabilitation Center, which is known as YTC. And one of the things is that approximately 95% of the persons who come into contact with the criminal justice system as offenders would have experienced some kind of trauma in their life, and that could be some of the experiences that they would have had growing up as children. You have people who have been physically abused, people who have been sexually abused, people who would have experienced death or some kind of tragic loss in their life that would have left a lasting impact, a negative impact upon their lives. Some of those experiences would have contributed to them becoming involved in offending behavior. There is something called the criminogenic needs, and that talks about what are some of the contributing factors to persons becoming involved in crime and criminal behavior. And you're looking at things as the type of family setting that they would have grown up in, what is happening at home, relationship between their parents. Sometimes it's a broken marriage, where sometimes you have relationships where the father is abusing the mother. Sometimes the children are abused, mentally, emotionally, and so those things have an effect and influence behavior. You also have things like the environment in which they grow up, depending on what is happening in that environment. If it's a area where you have a prevalence of drugs, of crime, of criminal activity, and so on, you also have things like the type of friends that they have, the type of activities that they indulge in for leisure and recreation. All of those are things that contribute the level of education. And that is why one of the things that the National Alliance of Faith and Justice focuses on is using education and salvation to reduce incarceration. We believe that if we educate people, we would not just be giving them a fish, but we would teach them to fish. And we believe that a key part of the real transformation and change is if there is some if their hearts are touched, because as I say, the heart of the matter is a matter of the heart, and the only person who can change hearts and transform lives is Jesus Christ. So we have a tendency to twin salvation along with education. And so, for example, as part of our scholarship and awards and book drive, every bag that we give to a child, there's a Bible in there. And depending on the age, there might be a Bible storybook or something that could teach them about Jesus Christ. Because only an encounter with Jesus Christ would bring about the real change.
And before we continue, we want to say a pleasant good night to all of our viewers, both locally and internationally. We also want to encourage you to share the live so that it reaches the lives and the hearts of as much persons or individuals as possible. We also want to encourage you that you can, if you have questions for Mr. Bedassie, if you would like to find out anything about how you can be a part of the ministry with Queen Esther's Ministries or with the National Alliance of Faith and Justice, you can ask your questions or post whatever it is in our comments. We will see it and we will be able to respond live to your questions. Whether it be posted to the NGO, Queen Esther's Ministries, or to Mr. Bedassie, we will see it and we will respond to you. So, Mr. Bedassie, as we continue, and it is a good thing when we can come together to work and bring honor and glory to the kingdom of God. So, the National Alliance of Faith and Justice is an NGO just like Queen Esther's Ministries, Trinidad and Tobago. And in doing this live stream, sit and chat, we're not just hoping to get you to donate to our NGOs. We're hoping to partner with you as well as with other NGOs so that we can get more done. Now, Mr. Bedassie, you mentioned that you come across a lot of persons from broken homes, children. You come across incarcerated parents, and we can identify with what it's like to have a parent or parents who are incarcerated and with having a need, both physically, emotionally, and mentally, and that need not being met. What would you say to NGOs? What would you say to persons looking on who are desirous of helping that they can do to make a difference in the lives of individuals such as these children or parents?
Well, no one NGO or organization can do the work, because it's a big work, it's a great work. There are a lot of needs, and different NGOs focuses on different types of goals and so on, objectives, and so partnership is always good. And I think that if we work together, we'll be able to get much more done. So, for example, my organization, the National Alliance of Faith and Justice Trinidad and Tobago, we have 3 major initiatives. One is called the Pen or Pencil Initiative, and pen refers to penitentiary or prison, and pencil focuses on education. And very often we talk about the two buses. One bus would either take you to school and the other one would take you to prison. And so the Pen or Pencil initiative focuses you on choosing which bus you want to get on, whether it's the school bus or the prison bus. And then we have the Saving Our Sons initiative, which is where we go around to communities throughout the country, and not in churches, not in buildings, but on the streets, on play fields, basketball courts, and those kinds of things, meeting the young men where they are. Because there's a saying, bad man don't go to church. So you need to go out there in their territory, meet them in their comfort zone, and reach them, and then bring them into the church. So Saving Our Sons is going out into the communities, interacting with our young men, trying to assist them in whatever way we can, and then bring them into the church, as it were. And then the Second Chance Act is the act of giving a second chance to those who didn't get it right the first time around, and that is basically a mentoring initiative. Now, if you look at those things, it is different in many aspects to the work that you are doing through Queen Esther's ministries. And then you have other organizations that would focus on different areas. So it's good if we could come together as like-minded people and get together to reach, because the needs are varying. And I want to say that sometimes there are needs that are greater than giving people material things, such as groceries and books and clothing and so on, because very often the trouble really might be emotionally, the trouble might be spiritually, the trouble might be mentally. So we're looking at even for people who are professionals, because there are a lot of people that need counseling, there are a lot of people that need to sit down and have a conversation, so you can give an opportunity where they can be heard and know what are the real issues that are confronting them. So some people need to see a psychologist, some people need to see a counselor, sometimes we need life skill interventions, teaching people how to manage money, how to save. We have situations where there are people who are unemployed but also unemployable. So we maybe want to teach people skills. It might be things like sewing or carpentry or masonry or grow box or barbering, because you don't want to be in a situation where after 3 or 4 or 2 years you still have to give people handouts. So you want to prepare them to move on from a place where they would just be actually putting out their hands to receive, but then reaching out to assist others as well along the way. You just don't want to give people a fish, but you want to teach them to fish as well. You want to bring them to a place of independence, to a place where they will come out of where they currently are into a better place. Just as a young man growing up, we depended on other people to assist. My mom, and by extension us, and now that we have moved on, we have received an education, we have jobs and so on. Now we can assist in helping others, and that is, we want to move people from a place where they are always being dependent, depending on others. All right, and so a great part of the work has to be done with things such as not just professional counseling, but you're talking about things like spiritual counseling, you're talking about things like deliverance. And when we move around to the communities, that is one of the things that we focus on. We have a number of deliverance ministers that are part of the ministry that can lay hands on people, pray for them, and assist them in becoming delivered from demonic spirits, from bondage, from oppression, and that kind of thing. Because you have people who would have grown up as children in abusive situations, that now that they're adults in their 40s and 50s, they're unable to forgive a abusive father or toxic mother, or maybe they would have had some kind of encounter with one of their siblings, and for years they haven't spoken to that person, or they don't get along. So there's a whole wide range of needs out there. And it is only when you go out into the communities and you interact with people and you try to assist, you realize the depth of the need, that this is more than just a material one. So
It's true.
there's room for a lot of people, professionals, laymen, ministers of the gospel. And one of the things that I tell people very often too, as much as we are faith-based organizations, you sometimes you just can't go out there and tell people, God love them, He care about you, heal you, He will deliver you, but you also have to help people. So there's a place for talk, and then there's a place for action.
I agree, because even with Queen Esther's Ministries work, as we get more and more into it, we meet individuals who have both a physical and a spiritual need, and it's important to be able to meet both, without offending or without, making it worse, so to speak.
Yes.
But even as we touch on the different type of needs there are, and the different types of NGOs that have a passion and a desire to do different ministries or work in different areas, we can't deny the fact that presently there's a great need physically because of the pandemic that we are facing right now. We are in the middle of a lockdown in Trinidad and Tobago. It's possibly going to be extended by a 3-month period. And so the physical need also has increased in this time.
Well,
So a lot of NGOs, may be wanting to do something, but then again, they might be fearful because you're not sure what you're going out to meet with this virus. But even in today's time and in a society such as the one that we are in right now, what do you think is the one thing that is needing most in NGOs to be able to help others?
But what I'll tell you is that there is a great need right now across the country, regardless of race, religion, class. There are people who are desperately in need. There are people who don't know where the next meal is coming from for their children. One of the things that we take for granted in this country is that is food. And there are many children now that they are out of school and have been home for more than a year, that they are struggling to have a meal. And many children survived and depended on the school feeding program to get a breakfast and a lunch on a daily basis. And now that they're out of school and away from home and they don't have access to that, that is creating a big challenge for some people, for a lot of people. Then you have things like there are a lot of children that do not have access to devices, electronic devices, to access their schoolwork. There are children that lives in homes without electricity. There are children that lives in communities where there's no internet access. So there are a lot of things. And prior to the education system going online, we already had a very high rate of truancy or dropout in our schools. And sometime, I believe might have been in 2019, we had something called Parents the Real Crime Stoppers. And at that it was like a town hall meeting, and we had principals, we had parents, we had pastors, we had police there, we had the prisons there, and a lot of stakeholders in the education system. And one professor from the University of the West Indies, he said, based on their research, 10% of children disappear from the education system between SAA and CXA or CSEC examinations. And that's just to tell you the level of children that are dropping out of schools when they were able to go into a classroom and sit and receive an education. And we have not had data to tell us what are those numbers in terms of the amount of children who are not accessing an education right now. And we are only going to feel the effects of that in years to come. And so that is one of the areas that we really need to focus on, ensuring that our children have access to the virtual classroom, ensure that they have a meal to eat, a proper meal or meals, so that because a hungry child cannot focus on any classroom or schoolwork or educational activities. Then you have some children that stay away from the virtual classroom because they don't even have proper clothes to wear, or the condition of the home that they're living in, and so on. I have a daughter that has been accessing the online classes. She's a Form 1 student, and you in that virtual classroom just like if you're in school all day. And we have had to put up a nice background and all those kinds of things, because children, they don't want to feel embarrassed or anything like that if the room in which they are sitting in is not well kept and all those. So there's a lot of need out there, and not everybody has the capability and the resources for them to access what is required of them. And those we fail to educate, we will have to incarcerate. And so it is important that we focus on ensuring that as much as possible, of our young people have access to that education. So you have to look at things like devices. You have to look at things like for food stuff, basic things to ensure that a child has a cup of tea or a sandwich or some kind of thing, so that they can get and clothes and even clothing. And I always like to say, don't give anything to anybody that you would use for yourself. So I want to appeal to people: if you're giving clothing, make sure it is washed, press it, fold it nicely, make sure it is in good condition, not something that you wouldn't give your child to wear. Alright, and very often we have good things that our children probably just would have outgrown and so on. Let us really reach out, and maybe you cannot do it on your own. Reach out to groups like Queen Esther's ministries, like the National Alliance of Faith and Justice, and there are a host of other organizations that we find on social media that are doing good work. There are times when when we give resources to other organizations to get into communities or into places that we don't go or venture, and for one reason or the other. So maybe you have something, it may not help 10 or 12, it might help 1 or 2. If you can't get onto an NGO, look for a child in your community that is in need, and let's see how we can assist our young people and families that are vulnerable and at risk. Because I want to tell you that the drug dealers and the gang leaders, they target these people. That's why you hear the term community leaders, because they go into their communities and they befriend these people and they give them a false sense of hope and love and belonging. And after they help them with a little, then they demand that they do much more. And that is how so many of our young men are becoming involved in crime and violence and drug trafficking and those kinds of things. And if we as the church and the people that know better in society do not take a leading role in this great work, then the notorious ones will take control of our young people.
Agreed. So, Mr. Bedassie, we don't want to keep the live going too long, but if persons are desirous of donating towards your NGO, which is the National Alliance of Faith and Justice, Trinidad and Tobago, and through the initiative Saving Our Sons Pen or Pencil initiative, is there a contact number that they can reach you at? Is there a Facebook page, an Instagram page?
All right, you can look at my Facebook page, which is Krishna Bedassie. You can also go to nafj.tt. You can contact me at 322-0043, and you will find other information. There are a number of other numbers of people who work with my team on the page that you would be able to find, and you can reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to get you involved in whatever way. It does not just have to be by cash donations or materials. Maybe you possess a skill set that will assist us in some of the initiatives that we are trying to get done.
Thank you, Mr. Bedassie. And just to say, and so that persons can understand the hearts behind the NGOs, Mr. Bedassie is actually my oldest brother. We're both the last of 11 children, and we both came from an abusive home where our father was in and out of the prison system. It was hard growing up for both of us, him being the eldest and me being the youngest. We grew up without. And so when we're giving, we want to give and not bring embarrassment or shame to the persons that we're giving to. That is very pivotal for us as persons working in community development and with the NGOs. You can also reach out to us at Queen Esther's Ministries Trinidad and Tobago. All of our information will be featured to the bottom of the screen. You can take our contact numbers, our Instagram page information, and our Facebook page information. So, Mr. Bedassie and Krishna, my brother, I want to say thank you so very much for taking the time out from your schedule, for making yourself available, as Queen Esther's Ministries takes a different approach towards reaching those who are able to assist. We want to thank you for the information that has been shared. We want to thank you for your cooperation with us and for being part of Queen Esther's Ministries Sit, Sip and Chat. So God bless you, and we look forward to working with your NGO in the future.
Thank you, and it was a pleasure being here.
Thank you. And to our viewers, we want to say thank you for tuning in with us tonight. It's indeed an honor and a privilege to be able to sit, sip, and chat with you live on Facebook for the very first time. Before we move on tonight, we want to introduce to you a very special speaker that's going to be live with us on Facebook on Friday, the 28th of May, 2021. It's no other.
Greetings. My name is Carlisle Holder, President and CEO of CI Holder Ministries. I am excited to support the work of Queen Esther Ministry and their work to support and help those less fortunate and vulnerable. Please join us next Friday, May the 28th, for a sit, sip and chat as we discuss issues and solutions to make a difference and be a beacon of hope and inspiration for those that are marginalized and less fortunate. I'm excited to see you next Friday, so please join us to support this great ministry work. God bless, and we'll see you soon.
Yo, blessings. I greet you all in the wonderful name of Jesus, and I never apologize for that. No day, no time is about sit and chat with your host Esther. This is Jared News, the original Jesus Youth, and I'm excited about June the 4th. Yeah, it's all about lifting up the name of Jesus. Called for a time like this with Mrs. Esther Bedassie. Blessings. Yo, blessings of the joy and wonderful name of Jesus, and I never apologize for that. No way, no time is about sit and chat with your host Esther. This is Jeremy's the original Jesus, and I'm excited about journey forth. Yeah, it's all about lifting up the name of Jesus. Call for a time like this with Mrs. Esther Bedassie. Blessings.
Greetings. My name is Carl Holder, President and CEO of CI Holder Ministries. I am excited to support the work of Queen Esther Ministry and their work to support and help those less fortunate and vulnerable. Please join us next Friday, May the 20th, for a sit and chat as we discuss issues and solutions to make a difference and be a beacon of hope and inspiration for those that are marginalized and less fortunate. I'm excited to see you next Friday, so please join us to support this great ministry work. God bless, and we'll see you soon.
So again, guys, we want to take this opportunity to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. We apologize for the technical difficulties. May 2021, we're expecting to have with us no other than Mr. Carlisle Holder. He is an author of the book, Can Anything Good Come Out of Prisons? He's a mentor, and he's had a lot of experience in working with those who come out of the prison system. And we're also having with us live on Facebook on the 4th of June, no other than Mr. Jaron Nurse. He's a gospel artist and a motivational speaker. He has a passion and a desire for the things of God. And we're sitting, we're sipping, and we're chatting with these two special guests as we continue the series, Sit, Sip, and Chat, right here, live on our Facebook page. For those of you who are desirous of making a donation towards Queen Esther's ministries, towards helping children, families, and those in communities like we've spoken about earlier, our information is given to the bottom of the screen. Our account number is there, our phone number is there, and our Instagram account number is there. You can follow us and stay connected with us for more information on upcoming initiatives and on upcoming information with regards to our next series, which will be featured live right here on our Facebook page. We want to take this opportunity to say thank you for your time and thank you for viewing us live for our first ever online series, Sit, Sip, and Chat. God bless you and have a good night.